Hello guys, and welcome to a quick tutorial on how to completely cheese the Theater of Blood story mode that you will be required for a Night at the Theater quest. The purpose of this guide is not to show you guys how to do this properly. The purpose of this guide is to show you how to do this simply. In a solo, we can actually ignore more than half of the mechanics, and as a result, even though we're using suboptimal methods and we're not going to have anywhere near the damage that you'd have doing this properly, it will be the easiest way to complete it, other than just having a team carry you while you sit outside the room, leave your computer, go get a coffee or something, and then just when you have to be at Versic, you kind of just sit there. She'll kill you and it won't harm your team. In fact, it's best if you just don't enter rooms and AFK Versic phase 1 so you die. I'm using Tournament Worlds in this example, but I do carry in a relatively decent gear setup, something that's not terribly expensive. I'm assuming that you've done every quest in the game aside from this one at this point, so you probably have access to Forecath. You've probably done that a little bit, so you should be able to afford most of the gear in this, and I'll go over any downgrades. Okay, so let's go into some of the more geary things. You can see I'm using a dragon crossbow in the setup with the 4-way melee switch, a blowpipe, a toxic trident, a serp helm, a crystal halberd, and a dragon dagger. Now, dragon diamond bolts for sure. Do not bring in rubies. There is a way to one-hit yourself at the very end of the Nilo's room. It is a mistake, but I have seen a hardcore Iron Man do it before. It's kind of a funny clip. Dragon crossbow is the most important item. If you don't have anything because you're an Iron Man that can shoot those bolts, rune crossbow will work. It's just going to be a little longer. The Odium Ward is also of the similar nature. It's very cheap. You should get it, unless you have something better. And it's going to just help speed things up. Now, if you can't afford an Anguish or a Fury, or a Torture, just downgrade to a Fury. You can also downgrade the Trident, although I really would not recommend that. You want the Serp, you want the Trident, if you can afford them, because they will make a very interesting scenario in Verzik just extremely easy. You'll also see in the bottom of the inventory, I have some Phoenix necklaces. I'll talk about those in a second. For now, just make sure you're on long range with your Trident, and you're on Slash with your Halberd. The Phoenix necklaces have a little interesting mechanic for those that don't know. Basically, if your health gets below a certain point, I believe it's 20%, they will heal you for a very large chunk of your health. So if I drop below, say, 20 health, really, I'll probably shoot up into the 40s, which is very useful. Anyways, just withdraw these potions, just drink them, you can put them back in the bank, and then just eat an angler to get back up over your max health. We're going to take in 6 brews and 6 restores. You could take a 2-dose stim if you want. In fact, that'd probably be better. And let's go. Make sure it's on entry mode, which it is by default. And if it's the, I believe in the quest, there's a little bit of dialogue with the stranger they have to go to first. You'll see here, it just kind of lets me go in. So the first boss is the maiden boss. She has 2 attacks that she will do, plus a couple things where she summons some just basic monsters to help her out. All the mechanics in this room are relatively simple. In teams, they can get a little hectic just due to the meta method, which just requires a bit of perfection. In a story mode, she is so nerfed that you can kind of ignore a lot of stuff. So, I do have Rigor, and if you don't have that, what are you doing with your life? Make sure your attack options are not on what I have now, and just hit her with your crossbow, back up to the back of the room. It's a good idea to toss in some specs at the beginning of the fight, but this is a guide on how to do this as completely simple as possible. Not a guide on how to do this using any sort of efficient or effective method. So she spawned a little crab. If it gets to her, it's going to heal her for 32 damage. Really, it's just twice whatever its HP is. In this video, I elect to just let 2 of them go to show you that they're completely optional to hit. Again, there's only one reason that you can't take your hand off, take your hand off the mouse, look away, watch a movie during this. She has a little attack right here, this little red thing, and it targets you, and it also targets 2 random tiles. And this just, if you stand on it, you get hit very rapidly for small amounts of damage. It also spawns these 2 little red things that kind of walk around the room painting it. So just stay very far away from this and keep your distance from those things. If you have to just run all the way to the back and around, just do it. You should have plenty of health in this room, and if you use supplies, you use supplies. The only other thing is that little black attack. It does drain your stats, so my range level is potted down a little bit. You saw earlier that I actually restored it back up to 103 from, I think, 99. This is just in order to... Sorry. This is just in order to make sure I'm dealing damage. I don't really need a full range pot. So let's go into Bloat. This is the boss where we need to have the most accuracy and do it closest to as intended. This is one of the areas where you could use a crystal halberd, but we're not going to for simplicity. Anyways, for whatever reason, there's a combat achievement for entering from the wrong way. So I'm going to drink a stam dose, and you'll see my run energy doesn't go down for Tournament World, but this is for you guys, not for me. So I'm going to go around and get that achievement. Now the proper time to move or go around a corner in this room is when he's about halfway down his side. Now the exact accuracy doesn't really matter, you just want to kind of stay accurate. If you're having trouble seeing him due to the middle thing, you can just highlight him assuming you're using not the official client. The reason you want to wait is because he can turn around, and you don't want to click, say, halfway across the room. Anyways, you'll see eventually he stops moving. Just spec him out. If you want to only use 2 specs and have a crystal halberd, that is an option. If you've watched anyone do Theater of Blood, you kind of know how that works. I only do 4 hits here, just for simplicity's sake, and then I equip my whip, and I go behind the pillar. These little hands and feet drop off, and something to consider is that they never fall in the same place twice in a row. So if one lands in kind of this inner circuit, you can just stand on it. Right now he's moving kind of fast, and I'll take some time after the kill to explain how that works. And I took a couple of fly damage there, but it hits you so low in story mode it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit him 5 times here, and that's to deal with the little run mechanic. Now after I do this, I notice that he's 0.6 health, so I just run back in. I take the stomp damage, it's only 23, it's not a big deal. If he had, say, 10% health or even 5%, I would have run behind the pillar and just had another phase. If you're going to take the stomp, I'd recommend just equipping a Phoenix necklace. So let's explain the little walk versus run thing and why I did 5 hits. So Bloat has a little toggle built into him. It's based on the number of damage, or really the number of hits that he takes. So a Dragon Dagger, a Crystal Halberd, those will count for 2 hits each, because there's 2 hit splats. Past that, it's a little bit of a toggle. Every time he takes a hit splat, he alternates between his walking speed and his running speed. When he goes and starts running, you'll see he moves twice as fast about, and it becomes a more dangerous scenario. If you hit him an odd number of times, so in that case I hit 5 times instead of 4, if you hit him an odd number of times, he starts walking, and the room becomes easier. If you're late game to the boss, then you could just do 3, but 5 is very comfortable. You have a lot of time to come in and get that 5th hit. So, the first time I hit 4, and I believe that would always default him to running. because that was 8 total hits, so really I should say I hit him 8 times. So if you want to hit him with a whip there, I believe that will reset him, but I haven't really looked into it enough to say that for sure. I'm sure there's some sweaty top nerd that knows, but chances are if they're watching this video, they've already had an aneurysm. So this is why I bring a pink salve, not a blue one, because you're going to drop it here. And you don't want to lose your imbued salve. Or at least you probably don't. I also dropped the stamina here. Actually, sorry, I drink and drop the stamina. Your run energy will be depleted somewhat at Nilo costs, because we have to do it minorly properly, and you don't want to run out of that and be in a bad situation. The main mechanic of the Nilokos room will be that Nilokos will spawn on the ramps, go towards the center, and either attack you or a pillar. You have to kill them before the pillars fall, or at that point you wipe the raid. Thankfully in story mode, the pillars have loads of health that take ages to die, so it's pretty safe. These guys are color-coded. Now, a quick note before you go in and before I go anywhere else is that if you are currently using the HD plugin, turn it off. This room lags like hell because each one has at least one lighting effect. If it's attacking, then you'll see 2 a lot of times. And when there's 12 of them in the room, it's just, you're going to have low frames. Anyways, back to the point. If you want to do this as absolutely minimally as possible, then these guys have 2 HP. The big ones have 3. So just equip your Dehyde body and camp it. Equip your defender and camp it. We are only going to use the whip, the trident, and the blowpipe up before the boss. We'll throw in a few specs on the boss, but again, that's optional. Hell, if you want to, you can just use a blowpipe spec anytime you're down, say, 20 health. The boss is so nerfed in story modes that it really doesn't matter. So, the Nilos will have a color. Either they're blue, in which case they attack with and are weak to magic. If they are green, then the same thing applies with range. And if they are white, the thing applies with melee. Now, for the most part, we are going to ignore the melees. You do not want to stand close to the pillars. The reason that you don't want to do that is when a Nilo has been in the room for some length of time, it will explode if you don't kill it first. The explosions are very minor. They hit for about 10 damage, but they add up over time. So our goal is to stay in the middle on those 4 tiles I have marked, and we are going to spend as much time in here as we can. This way we don't get hit by any explosions at the pillars. The only time you really want to hit a melee is when it is attacking you. Now your order of priority for this room. Say you're wielding your blowpipe. Kill all the rangers. If any of them are attacking you, kill those first. Then equip your, switch weapons and attack all the majors. Again, prioritizing anything attacking you. The aggros hit so infrequently and for so little damage that you do not really need to switch weapons to prioritize those. So say I have a green and a blue attacking me. Again, I'm wielding my blowpipe. I kill the green. I clean up any greens at the pillars, and then I equip my trident. That works. The main thing in this room is that you don't throw 2 attacks in a row at the same one without switching your attack. What I mean by that is if you use your blowpipe, and say there's, 3, 4 of them, don't wait for one to die before you click the next. They have 2 health. Chances are you'll kill them. With the trident, it's a bit, you have a weapon that attacks half the speed, so don't worry about it too much. You can just kind of camp there. Your trident will splash, 1 time out of probably 6, 7, or 8. So you will get a decent amount of splashes because you're wearing, Dehydes and a Xarp. So be prepared for that. But again, it's so minor. So drink a Divine Ranging Potion. You should still have a combat stats from the bloat. And then just kind of go in. You'll see the blowpipe drags me out of the center. I immediately click back. I don't just click, attack the next one. So you see those meleers, they kind of get towards the pillar. I'm not going to worry about it. There's a meleer attacking me. Oh no. Oh my god, I took 2 damage. Okay, now that the mages are all dead, I'll equip the whip. I like to just camp Eagle Eye Prayer in this room just for just some extra damage. You know, you'll not one hit 1 out of 10 or so. So just that little bit of extra damage brings that ratio down. All right, so pay attention to that Melior in the bottom left corner. You saw this happen a little bit ago, but right now he blows up. If I was standing next to that pillar, I would take 10 damage. And it has a decent AoE on it too. So it's not just like you have to stand basically on top of it. Right here, if something was to blow up near the ramp, I would take damage. So you'll see I kind of just clean everything up, and then I deal with really any aggros that are different colors. And yeah, when the big crabs die, like right there, you'll see they spawn 2 more. Just again, the strategy is extremely basic. Now right there, I attack that one in the top right with range, and you'll see now that little, every time I attack it, that little yellow thing pops up above it, and I hit a 0. Because I hit that one with the wrong attack style, it will be impervious to all damage. A lot of waves have the, multiple Nilos of the same exact color. The last one was mostly range or entirely range. This one was entirely mage. And I get it. You typically get a couple of aggros when that happens. So when you see it, just be prepared for something to attack you. If you get a lot of the same things on you, then go ahead and activate a protection pair. Like right now, I could pray melee. But most of the mages are dead or at least attacked, so let me clean those melees up now. You'll see every now and then that the waves will pause. They did that a second ago. And when that happens, just go ahead and clean up the room. It happens when the room gets too full. The definition of too full changes about halfway through. One, I guess, other thing is that there is a combat achievement for barraging a clump of 4 majors. So 4 majors get near a pillar, or no, I think it's just 4 Nilos in general. So if you want to bring in a room pouch, you can, and just, leave a pillar alone later in it for 4 to come up. Now right there, you'll see that I Blowpipe spec'd for 14 health, which means I hit at least a 28. But because they're 2 health, you don't see that. The Blowpipe spec does overheal you in that case. If you don't know anything that heals you from an attack, like a blood spell or an SGS, even if you hit a kind of a 1 HP monster, it still heals you for what you would have hit if the monster had full health or just more health. So like say I hit a 25 or 20 Blowpipe spec, but I only deal 2 damage because that's 2 health, I still heal 10 damage. So again, the Blowpipe spec actually is kind of nice in this room. And you'll see that I only use 2 halberd specs on the boss. And you can use more. I'm just doing this simple. All right, so a lot of melees right now. A lot of these are about to blow up though. So I'm going to kind of ignore it. Right there, I see that in both of these south pillars, there's 2 melees on it, but those both just came off the ramp. So I am safe to kill those. And it just leads to me doing something. The key to this room is really no downtime. Right here, I'm about to click the Melior attacking me right as it changes to green. This is actually how a Ruby Bolt spec killed somebody, just to mention that. Just it was on the boss. So now that Ranger now is impervious to me. So I just have to kind of let it hit me. And this is where, right now, you'll see the demonstration. I take 9 damage from the explosion. Big whoop. So definitely turn your prayer on when there's something you can't hit, just because there's nothing you can do about it. Great, and now I'm taking a little bit of damage. So I choose to drink a dose of brew in this case, a couple doses, and a restore because, I need some prayer back too. I brew up over my health just to make things as absolutely safe as possible. Again, where the entire point of this guide is just don't die. Not do this accurately or effectively. It'd be a good idea to range pot in this case. I don't think I really thought of it. And you'll see there's a lot of stuff on the pillars, which means there's a lot of stuff that's about to blow up, and you see all these explosions happening. Great, I got another aggro on me that I hit wrong. Again, some of these mistakes are actually intentional, just to show you guys how more minimal it is. I'm kind of just tanking things that are harmless to me, but are things that people are genuinely concerned about. And in fairness, those are things that are extremely problematic in team raids. So the pillars are around a quarter, maybe a little more, a little less. And this room is actually over now, which means I have plenty of health left. But if you are worried, that northwest pillar is what's called the solo pillar, and it's the easiest one to defend. So if you want, you can focus on that one. Still only worry about the majors and rangers, but just prioritize that one. Anytime something gets on it, just attack it first. And I'm going to take this time to orient my inventory instead of kill that Melior. Now the boss works a little bit slower than it does normally, so advantage just to get your stats back up and dump 2 halberd specs on this. You can get 3 melee hits normally, but 2 with a halberd. And then the most important thing on this boss is what prayer you're using and what weapon you're attacking with. Whenever he changes color, your character stops attacking, which means you should focus entirely on your prayers. Get your prayer up first, then worry about your weapon. If you attack him with the wrong weapon, you will take the damage rebounded. This is the actual scenario where that hardcore died, was he attacked with a crossbow right as it switched. So if you say, you accidentally click away from the boss, you eat maybe, you do something, do not attack him until he changes color. Yeah, right there, that's just an example. I take 14 damage. If I had hit him with a whip and hit a 40, I would have taken a 40. If I had ruby specced him, I would be dead, which is exactly why you don't bring that. Again, if you got on the boss late, even though there's enough time for about 3 hits, it's about 5 seconds, just don't. Or sorry, excuse me, it's like 7 or 8 seconds. Honestly, just do not get back on the boss. Just wait, keep over your prayer book, change your prayer, play it safe. And now I'm actually going to switch over to the live commentary I did for a little bit, because I have a hilarious thing happen during Soda Seg. Okay, for Soda Seg, similar to Maiden, if you want, you can equip these things, or, a halberd, and you can spec him. We're not going to do that. We're going to sit here and diamond bolt it, because we can. My range level is kind of low, so... Actually, no, it's not. Sorry, I'm used to being a 99 range. Anyways, as soon as I enter, I'm going to keep these prayers on. He is going to shoot a couple of different orbs at me. One of them is really big. It's going to hit me for, I think, 15 or 17 damage. I'm not even going to bother doing anything about that. There's nothing I can do, except be just higher health than it. The other ones are smaller, and they are either going to be red, which means I pray mage, or green. Or not green, sorry. Gray. They're a little darker gray, and I'm going to pray range against those. So red orb, click this. Gray orb, you click this. And we're just going to sit here and hit him with bolts. At 2 points during it, you're going to get summoned to the Shadow Realm. There's going to be this maze, and when you're in the maze, a tornado spawns behind you. If it catches up to you, you're basically dead. That is the only other thing that really kills you in this raid, is the maze. Now, if you step on a wrong tile in the maze, it hits you for about 15 damage, and it keeps hitting you just as fast as that blood in the first room, or those flies in the second. So we're going to equip a Phoenix Necklace, and if you're not comped in the maze, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to click all the way across it, and you're going to spam click these. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that yet. I'll show you what I mean by that later. So let's go. Let's kill this guy. I think this is the tile. Yep. That orb is red, and I have a lot of reaction time. I need to turn these sounds down. Jeez, these are loud. Also, shout out to Von Valor Clan. Okay, here we go. So you see this thing is in the air, and oh wow, I noodled, thankfully. It hit me 15 damage. Big whoop. Sodaseg chooses me. Okay, so if I step on any of these gray tiles here, I get hurt a lot. So the strategy we're going to do is we're going to click a couple of these one at a time until we are in this third row. So one row, oh shoot. Oh, see, no problem. Shoot, I was supposed to... Okay, I'll explain that better the next one. Let me just brew up. And preferably hit him back. Wow, they're all range orbs. Yeah. That was bad. That's what you shouldn't do. So, when you hit the third row, he spawns a tornado. Now let's review this clip now that's happened. Normally in team raids, it's the fourth row that spawns a tornado, but I guess in these, it's the third row. So a couple things I should have done in here. First off, I should have equipped the Phoenix Necklace and Redemption before going into the maze. I should have healed up to full health before I entered the maze. And lastly, I should not have clicked the portal. As you see at the end of the clip, I re-enter and I'm immediately right next to Sodaseg, and that is not ideal unless I have healed back up to my full health. This is basically a worst case scenario, other than maybe dying, but the risk of that happening is still extremely low, even in this case. Alright, now I end up memeing a little bit during the rest of the kills, so I figured it's better to switch back to a voiceover. So I get another ball. It again does basically nothing. The nice thing about the strategy we're using is it eliminates the chance of dying during the maze. Now you'll also see I'm not even re-equipping my anguish, because again, this is me doing this simply. If something goes wrong like that, do not just equip the anguish, because you might miss a prayer and then you might panic, shit goes downhill. So if we look at this maze right here, this is a lot better for me. You'll see that row has 7 tiles that are red, or really that column. So I'm going to just march straight down that one, and I'm going to take that much less damage. First, I'm going to go into that second, not third row. No tornadoes for me. I'm going to equip the Phoenix Necklace, turn Redemption on, I'm going to click, and right there, I take a single bandage and my Phoenix Necklace doesn't go off. It's extremely safe. Is it better than doing the maze? No. Again, it's a cheese strat. Also, do not stand next to the boss and blowpipe it. Like I said, I just started memeing, and I figured the blowpipe spec there was the absolute worst thing I could do. And naturally, I was like, oh, this will be funny. So I prototyped this method once before I made this recording, and here are the 2 mazes from that. In this first one, I skip a lot of tiles. The second one, I don't. But in the second one, I show that I just kind of spam click Phoenix Necklaces, and it works. After I include these 2, there will be 2 examples of some team raids. And I'm going to include the original audio for those, just so you guys kind of get an idea of what the maze is like in a team. Nothing goes wrong during those clips, but it's still fairly interesting. It's good to see that the maze, when done properly, requires a lot of accuracy.
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Oh no.
Ready?
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready. There's no way that was actually a straight line.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't care.
Okay. To kill you guys or not to kill you guys?
Alright.
That is the question.
If you try and kill us, maybe.
Oh my god, one
Just
by one.
be prepared that he has a
I
keg.
do have the keg. I don't know how to use it, but we'll probably.
Well, chances are you're not even gonna get ball anyways.
You guys.
What is this? That was the worst maze I've seen in my life. Holy!
I clicked a lot of times.
I clicked way too many times.
Any hitters?
Anyways, nothing happened for the rest of that, the original fight, so I just kind of cut it out, put some more interesting stuff over it. So after this soda sag, I have 3 brews, 4 restores, and I definitely don't need this many supplies, especially the restores. So at this point, I should have drank and dropped that, but whatever. So drink and drop your super combat, drink and drop your divine. I still have 2 phoenix necklaces, which is good. Go and just buy out the bandages. So Xarpus is a fairly straightforward boss. While yes, we do kind of need to follow the mechanics in this one too, it comes down to a very simple strategy. If you want to use the blowpipe here, it is way better than the crossbow. I use the crossbow just to show kind of how free it is. So on this first phase, you're going to see these little things spawn. They kind of shoot little blobs at him. If you stand on those, then it stops him from getting as much health and as much defense. But it's such a minuscule thing that you don't have to really worry about this. Okay, so now the actual fight begins. Xarpus in the first phase, so up until he screeches, is going just to target you and launch one of those little blobs at you. If you stand on it, it's going to damage you just like the stuff at Maiden. It'll also poison you if you don't have an anti or a cert. So we're just going to kind of sit here in the back and do this little thing. And the longer you wait, the better, assuming you don't actually get hit. You'll see every now and then he'll throw 2 he'll throw 2 at the same spot if I leave kind of at the last second like I did there. It's worth mentioning that I'm kind of just hitting once and moving. Now, if you want to use a blowpipe, you can hit 3, maybe even 4 times before moving, and you're going to do way more damage. You can also just kind of toss in a couple of DDS specs at the beginning, and I would highly recommend that. You're basically going to take away his entire health. But it's just oh so minuscule. Like, this fight's super easy. And I'm going to this row now to show you that you don't need to be precise with your tiles. Just move around in a circle. You'll see at the end, I actually fill up that entire kind of back row, so I move 1 in front. Now, the farther back you are, the better, because you have more time to dodge. But it's, again, this phase is extremely easy. Okay, so he screeches now. And again, this is the cheese strat guide. And since this guy has a little mechanic now, where he rebounds damage to anyone in the area he is looking at, and by the area, I just mean the quarter of the arena, we're going to try to make sure that we don't get rebounded. So coming from this kind of middle thing here, down that side, which I'll show in a second, right down to here, the quarter of the arena I'm standing on extends from there all the way to here. So whenever he is looking at that, if I attack him, I am screwed. So we're going to take a similar strategy to what we did with the Nilo boss, where we get on him immediately and we do not, if we click off for whatever reason, we don't attack again. We play it completely safe and we don't do anything else. To this end, I'm actually going to use a crystal halberd, because the amount of delay that he has is pretty extreme. And you saw when I took that hit that it did a lot of damage. So it doesn't just reflect, it does damage on top of it. I don't know how much it is in the story, but in team modes it's quite a bit. So it's not a bad idea to pray redemption here, and also piety. But as soon as he turns, if it's not towards you, you hit him, and then you move. If it is towards you, well, don't hit him. You can also send some specs, but I don't recommend it because that is a one hit. I mean, if you want to get one hit, you can, because you're not going to use supplies during this. And I don't think I've really talked about this too much, but you have 2 deaths to work with. So say you have a bad soap maze or something, it's really not the end of the world. I mean, you might use a few supplies, but I mean, you see how many brews and restores I have left. Alright, so now that this is wrapping up, I'm actually going to put in a few cuts in the next second because I just spent too long explaining things the first time around. So, you need the staff, drop something to create inventory if you need to, and go ahead and pick that up. You want to have a phoenix necklace up there. We are going to use that at the end of the fight, just in case things get ready. Otherwise, blowpipe, trident, and crystal halberd at the top of the inventory. The blowpipe isn't even really used in this, so you can get rid of that. Just have the trident handy because we are going to use that during the fight for one specific mechanic, and maybe even 2. Great, so now we are in the arena. The general idea behind phase 1 is she attacks extremely slowly, so we use the staff, we hit her with the staff a bunch. The specs on the staff basically hit her for 40 to 50% of her health, and then we hide behind the pillar when she attacks, and we pop back out to attack her again. At the end of the fight, or really the end of that phase, the pillars all fall, so you don't want to be standing next to them when that happens. And normally you can just kind of stand out in the middle, but this time I'm glad this happened, but I guess I just didn't hit hard enough, which is very rare. It's never happened in a story mode solo. I've done like 5 of them, just for various combat achievements and whatnot. So that's extremely unusual, but it's, if it happens, it happens. She does hit in the high 20s, maybe even low 30s, so don't stand out there too much. Now we're going to stand kind of very far south during most of this, and we're going to kind of run in a circle around here again, like we did with Xarpus. If you ever need a break, you can go to the far east or the far west, and just, wait for your heart rate to go down. She actually can't see you from there during the second phase. So if you need to go, maybe use the bathroom, grab a coffee or something, feel free to. Great. Now I'm going to cut again to when I start the fight. Okay, and make sure your staff is equipped. Make sure your spec attack is also activated. Activate your protect from magic. Talk to her. Hit begin. And spec her. So you can see the staff does a load of damage, but it actually normally does a little more than that. So typically speaking, you'll take 1 hit from her if you just kind of stand out here. But this time, yeah, I decided to bail. So this is where you stand behind the pillars, but as a note, if you stand there, you'll get hit. So you actually stand 1 tile southeast of that if you choose to use that pillar. Normally you actually use the northwest in teams. My camera was pointed that way, so I went that way. So congrats on your achievement. And now I took a lot of damage, so I'm going to run over here. She can't hit me, and I'm going to safely get back up to full health. And I'm also going to use a bandage, which is why tanking it is a good idea, since you're going to take the bandage anyways. Alright, so equip your crossbow, run at her. Sometimes she spawns these guys early. These are just like the Nilos in the other room, just they blow up whenever they're close to you. They kind of are like little heat seekers. So you can kill them, and it's not a bad idea. Now, this purple guy, if he lands on you, he hurts you. Otherwise, he just heals her. And if you the idea is that if you poison him, he dies. So you can see I'm hitting with a crossbow, which, when you have a Serp equipped, does have a chance to poison, but it's guaranteed if you hit him with a poison weapon like the trident. And that's why I recommend the trident. You saw that little green thing pop up around in that cloud, and that's how you know that you've poisoned him and that he is about to die. Great. So run around like a chicken with your head cut off, attack with the crossbow. This little lightning thing will hit you for up to 10 damage sometimes, but otherwise, a bomb might hit you for 15 on occasion, but it's pretty free. So this is a melee Nilo, so if I get close to it, it blows up. So if I hit it, it might just blow up first. So I'm just going to run away, and you'll see that he eventually just kind of dies. Yeah, and I popped the purple using that time, so it's not like I was completely wasting my time running around. All right. Now, when she hits a little bit lower, you'll see that she will spawn some red Nilos. These guys work like the ones on Maiden, more or less, where after a certain amount of time, they heal her. So, coming up here, we're going to hit each one of those once, and we're going to switch prayers to magic, because she has this little blood attack. Now, just like at Maiden, if we get their health down a little bit, we don't need to do any farther. Now, if you get her, 2 good crossbow hits, then throw in a halberd spec, because it's a very good chance that you'll just knock her out. And if you have multiple healing phases, it just gets old. If you're worried about, going in for the spec, don't worry about it. Great. So phase 3. She's going to hit us with Mage and Range. Just leave whatever prayer you had up already up. She doesn't hit very hard in this raid. So you see, I kind of run around her, and if she gets close to you, she will melee you. If this crab gets close to you, it's going to blow up. So prioritize avoiding the crab first. Her melees are extremely inaccurate, but they can hurt a lot. The crabs always hurt a lot, especially if they blow up right on you. So run away from her, and if you can't really do anything, like say you get trapped in a corner, just run through her. A little bit after the crab spawn, you'll see these webs go off. Just, again, run in a circle. That's basically everything in this guide, is stand away from things, run in circles, and hit them with a crossbow. Which is the intent with making this, is that anyone that could do, like Vorkath, for example, can do this. So, this is really careful, really important. Run into a corner, and just kind of stand under her until the webs start to despawn. If you get stuck in a web, you get meleeed, the web hurts you. That's kind of what the Phoenix necklace is for, so if it happens, just equip the necklace and click some brews. After a while, she stops, kind of does that weird thing. Stand wherever that little yellow thing is. It could be on the other side of the room, so if you don't see it, just look all the way over there. And it's a good time to heal up while you're running towards it. Very soon, you'll see she will launch a powerful projectile at me. I think on this hit here. Now the next one. And oh my goodness, is this thing scary. In a team raid, it hits a 74. Let's see what it does now. Wow, that's so scary, isn't it? It's always just going to hit 19. So she's about half health now. Just continue kiting. And if you miss hits, you miss hits. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. This is 2 brews left, so you don't need to be anywhere near perfect. Just miss the hits. I have another Nilo, and you'll see I'm kind of backed into a corner with it. So do not run through it. It blew up because I got close enough to it, which is I wasn't really trying to do. Alright, so right about now, we're going to webs, and at 20%, things are going to get hectic. Because I'll have this little tornado following me like it does in Gauntlet. If it catches up to me, it hurts me and it heals her. So this is a really good time, especially if this happens during webs. Just send a halberd spec, run around, keep running around instead of halberd spec. Because if you can just dump those at any time the tornado is far away from you, like just take the melee hit, honestly, in this case, it was worth it. Because if you get to the yellow part and that thing is still up, because this is a cheese strat, you're just going to stand on the yellow thing and let the tornado hit you. Let it heal her. And that's really not great. Alright, but that's the raid done. Hopefully you guys used your specs a little more than I did. But you see, I just made this as straightforward and foolproof as I could, which means I was minimizing every complication. Great. Well, congratulations on your guys' questcapes. And you may see a few more guides kind of this nature popping up on my channel eventually. Alright.